Okay, welcome everyone to Exceptional Circumstances for Exceptional Learners. I am your host tonight, Rebecca Muller. I am a special education teacher in New Jersey, and this has been a wonderful side project that has connected me to so many amazing individuals from around the country and around the world. So we are a part of Learning Revolution, which has many shows. Before we get started today with building experiences in self-determination for students, and I'm super excited because the students are actually here and student voice is so important. I do want to let you know about some other events that are happening right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Wednesday. So next week, I'm very excited to have Dr. Yulika Foreman. We'll be talking about how to put the I back into the IEP and really make it individualized. And Dr. Foreman works a lot with children on the autism spectrum and has wonderful resources. So that will be next week. Followed by Savannah Flakes, who is actually a fellow Virginian. She was actually also a teacher in Alexandria City for a while, and now she is an author and an international inclusion consultant, and we'll be talking about shaking up special ed. The enthusiasm that night is going to be amazing. I can't wait. And lastly, the life skills lady, Julie Swanson, who is up from Connecticut. She has done amazing things in the world of advocacy, not just for her son, but for so many students on the spectrum. I'm very excited to have her on the show. But without any further to do, it is about being determined. And I would like to start by introducing you to my first connection to the organization I'm determined. This is Jessie. So I was connected to Jessie from a previous presenter, Jethro Jones. We started to talk and he said, I need you to meet Jessie. You guys are just gonna, there's so much that you have to talk about. And wouldn't you know, we got in touch, and that was back in November, Jessie. And we were like, all right, yeah, let's do the show. And then we're like, you know what? Let's bring the students on to do the show, because that's what it's all about. And this is one of the shows that I'm just so thrilled to get started on. So Jessie, if you would like to introduce yourself a little bit further.
Sure. So thanks for having us. We're super excited to be here. And again, anytime we can bring our youth along, it's a better outcome. So I think we're all in for a treat, including myself. So I always get excited, and I always learn something new just by hearing them speak. So I'll try not to speak too much. But yeah, Jessie Rodriguez, I'm a co-state coordinator with Kendall Swartzentruber, who's also here for the I'm Determined project. And we work out of the James Madison University office in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And yeah, the main piece of what we're talking about tonight is the I'm Determined project, and that's a state-funded project. So the Virginia Department of Education helps fund us, and they've really put a lot of money and energy and time into expanding out what we can do for youth as far as putting them behind the wheel and making sure that they get their voice heard in their education. Our main goal is to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. And the way that we go about doing that is providing them opportunities to practice a lot of these different self-determination skills. And yeah, so I don't know how much further you want me to go.
Yeah, no. So what's interesting is this summer when I started to tutor some kids from California, the one mom said, I really need self-advocacy skills. And I had come across I'm Determined and kind of I flagged it. I'm like, this is cool. There's resources for educators and there's some sort of camp thing. I got to go back and look at that, not knowing that this was the link to Jessie and this is the thing that we're going to be talking about tonight. But the thing that I love on the website, first of all, the fact that it's funded by the state, it, of course, my brain goes, why aren't we doing this in more states? How can we get this going? But more than that, like this line in the mission, that it's helping to set and steer the course rather than having the student remain the silent passenger. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, because I feel like all too often as students, you don't get a lot of choices. This is what you're going to do. This is your class. This is the teacher. It's not really until you get to college that you're like, ooh, I get to pick my professors. Like, that's a new idea, and that's still a small amount of choice. So, you know, I'm curious, especially within the world of special ed, you know, how has this been going? What are some of the initiatives? What have been some of the outcomes? So feel free to, I just want to know more.
Well, I think since we have multiple youth, I'm Kendall Swartz-Truber, so I'm like the other half of Jesse. We kind of complete each other in a good way. So I'm the other co-state coordinator of the Undetermined project. I'd like to hear from, we have a few more youth on the call that are actually leaders that are here. So I'd like to hear from youth, like really hear about their first experience with Undetermined, because I think that really kind of sets the stage for seeing like what it looks like in the state. So for those of you who I know have stories, I'd encourage you to speak up.
Is that Maddie? Go for it.
When I heard about the summit was one of our she's not a superintendent right now, but she's like a assistant principal now at our school. She told me about it, and so that's when I started going in it. And my first year being a participant, I was really nervous and scared, and I wasn't ready to leave my mom, but I got through it.
So was it an actual like camp experience?
Yeah, it felt like a little camp experience.
That's great. And was that your first time away from home?
Yes, but my mom was with me though.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But I didn't get to see her much.
Well, you were probably busy, right?
Yeah, but I did miss her from seeing her.
Yeah, so that's like, okay, so I think that's like one of the really unique parts, is that a lot of like the self-determination stuff is built around this idea of like having like courage and confidence in yourself. And oftentimes, like Maddie just said, they come to what we call the Parent and Youth Summit in the summer. And there is a lot of like really super shy, a lot of kids who are insular, right? And the first night we tell the parents, all the parents, we say, all right, it is now your time to leave. And you should see all the eyes of like not only the parents, but of all the youth, which is like, what? We have to separate? We're going to be by ourselves? And there's this moment of absolute like discomfort. And we've like prepared all our youth leaders, like there's going to be some tears maybe. Like our whole job is just to make everybody feel included. And I think that moment in and of itself ends up being one of the most transformational moments, because it's like this moment where you see a lot of youth for the first time being able to kind of step in to kind of make some decisions on their own. And it's a complete safe space to kind of try things on. And that's what our youth leaders do a nice job of, is it's very largely student directed. And as adults who serve on this project, we kind of just say like, we're looking for things that to point our youth towards, our youth leaders towards, so that they can help. So I think that moment of like what Maddie is speaking to is really important in terms of building that courage and that confidence at the summit.
Yeah, because I definitely did have some tears when everybody was like, okay, separate from your parents. I'm like, great, I'm not gonna see my mom.
Other youth leaders, I know you guys got some stuff.
Yeah, I'll come in if I can, because I came in a different way to Undetermined. I came in through the Move Institute, which is a program sort of like the Youth Summit at JMU, but it's for students of color for males specifically, who have a learning disability. And so that's how I kind of got involved, knowing that there are other people like me who are going through the same thing, and that it's okay to be who I am. And so I developed a lot at that moment. And I then asked she was the director of that program. Her name was Amanda Randall. I told her, look, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a youth leader. And so part of that courage piece that Kendall was just talking about, once you're in that environment, like you just get that feeling that this is where you're supposed to be with like-minded people like you. And so after that moment, I applied to be a youth leader, and the rest is history.
That's so wonderful. And I just have to comment on this really colorful background that you have going on here. That's giving us a really good transition to learn a little bit more about the kind of parts that make up self-determined. Or
Yeah, so
I'm determined, excuse me.
What you're looking at now, we call the elements of undetermined. And this is kind of the baseline, some of the original research that went into self-determination theory. And it's really just like the skills and abilities and beliefs that we can put in front of youth and allow them to experience. And for us, it's all about, finding those opportunities for them to practice these things. And then especially in the school environment, you have a lot of times where you can do this in a safe environment and allow them to succeed, but also allow them to fail and then help them kind of regain their composure and get back up. So a lot of times we talk about three levels. Like the first level is the skills, where it may, and sometimes this is stuff that you can start at elementary level, providing choice for a kid, or allowing them to kind of work through an issue that they might have with another student, or a situation that comes up. And then once they have a lot of practice, those next things called abilities are kind of like clusters of skills that you have to have in order to do some of those things. So you have to know yourself and what you're working towards to start making goals and breaking them down and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to accomplish this goal? Self-regulation, self-advocacy, like you were talking about, you have to have some skills there before you try those things, just so that you're more effective. And then finally, the beliefs are really what we're going for, as far as, we really want our youth to believe in their ability to make change and to impact their future. And that's where a lot of that self-efficacy comes in, the internal locus of control. You're not blaming everything on the outside conditions, but knowing that you have control over that. So these are really the foundation for everything we do. All of our events, all of our resources that are on the website, all of our videos are usually based out of one or multiple of these elements. And a little sneak peek, a little sneak preview, we're in the process, or we were in the process of creating some films that go along with each one of these, so that we have kind of a video case study, so that people can kind of enter in and see, okay, how does this actually work in real life? We had to push pause on that due to COVID, but we're really hoping to get back to that soon.
Did you want me to go to the next slide?
Sure. So, and Kendall, why don't you take this slide, because you say this one a lot better than I do.
All right. Well, so I think the important thing to note is like everybody's journey is unique. So some people will come in, we'll meet young men and women who are really strong advocates for themselves, and yet still don't have an opportunity to like make choices in their daily lives. Or maybe they have a really good sense of like what they have control over in their lives, but again, they don't know how to like, they don't know how to advocate for what they want and need. And so we have all these sort of combinations of students that come to us. And these elements are just simply the things that we know that if we can practice and we give opportunities for, that ultimately that kind of leads in the direction of self-determination. In the middle, we have these like kind of really big words, but if you look at self-determination theory, and I know that I've been having some chats here on the side with other folks who are kind of doing kind of more research-based work in the area of self-determination, we've recognized autonomy, competence, and relatedness as psychological needs that kind of are, if met, are associated with self-determination. So autonomy means like that you have a sense of freedom and of choice, and that your choices are not dictated by other people. Competence means that you feel like smart about the choices that you make, and you feel like you are you have the skill set to solve problems when they come up. And then relatedness is simply like being in relationships with other people to be able to kind of work through the challenges of everyday life. And so those are the things that we want to really build at the end of the day. And if we can kind of do those in combination with those elements that you see on the back of Jonathan's screen, that really is what cultivates what I think is self-determination. And so what we've been talking a lot about lately with our youth is like, what do those elements look like in everyday life? And what are those gaining you in ways of autonomy, competence, and relatedness? And when we can be conscious of that as young men and women, right, we're like super self-determined when we can be conscious of all those things.
So I have a question, because first of all, how long has I'm Determined been running?
Is it 15? Roughly 15 years?
Something like that.
Okay, so 15 years. The world has changed a bit within the 15 years. The most within this last year. How will, I guess I should say, the autonomy, the competence, and relatedness change in our new environment?
I'm going to actually let the youth answer that one, because this last year has been really different for us. But I would also say that a lot of good has happened for us in the last year. So I'm going to let the youth talk to that one.
And maybe youth, if it helps, you can really narrow in on one of those things. So
Right.
either your sense of autonomy or your sense of competence around something, either in school or in your jobs or just somewhere in your life. How has that changed for you, and how have you had to kind of adapt?
And I'll just be honest, I'm thinking about something that Chloe has been saying a lot of lately. So
put her on the spot.
What was the question?
Okay, I'll go. So maybe thinking about all this and about everything that's happened over the past year. Yes, a lot has happened. No, we don't have control over the world, but we have control over ourselves and how we look at personally, I am a very positive person. What I try to be, I do have my moments where I'm just like, oh crap. This is not good. This is not going to work.
Right.
Now, let's look at it a different way and try to figure out what will work and how we're gonna get the
Got to keep going, right? Absolutely. Love it.
Yeah.
So as you were talking, I had to stand up and grab something that I literally have right at my desk, because sometimes I need reminders as well, right?
I love that.
Today, I will not stress over the things I can't control.
Yeah.
Especially in this environment, there's been so much that even the adults haven't had control, but the only thing we can control is ourselves, and to know what we can do and how we can be a part. So I love how you stated that. Thank you so much, Chloe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer the question.
Go ahead, Maddie. Yep.
See, I work at my dad's golf course. And I watch golf carts, and we have to like hand sanitize the carts, and it's so different this year because last couple of years ago we didn't have to do that before the COVID, and now we do, and it's kind of hard because like all these people are like touching it, and all their hands are all on it, and then like you have to clean it all up because everybody's hands are on it.
Right. Yeah. So there's more things that, that in some ways created another job, another responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So
and I can control people putting their hands on them because they're going to play golf anyways.
I also want to talk about something that happened spontaneously this year that Jesse and I didn't see coming, and Kita and Maddie are on the call. But we started COVID, and one of the big things that kind of came up was, how are we going to keep youth engaged in a time when the education is going to be really inconsistent? And we had a few youth leaders who asked me kind of on a back channel if they could have like an informal social club that just like gets together on their own, and if they could use I'm Determined as the unofficial name. And this thing has kind of taken like its own route, and we have our youth are like meeting together for like virtual social parties. They play games, and all these are like Saturday evenings. We're invited as adults, which is nice that they think of us, but it's something that I think is really to get to this idea of autonomy, like just to say, yeah, that's fine that you do that. Like, I think that's wonderful. And for them to lead, organize, coordinate it, they send emails, they send out an agenda for what those meetings are going to look like. And it's just a really cool kind of thing where they've kind of found ways to stay engaged in what is really kind of one of the most complex things that most of us have kind of dealt with in terms of like maintaining connections to people. and somehow they came up with the solution that works for them. And I'm kind of envious that it came so easily for them. But that's just an example of like some of the stuff that I think has happened this year.
And I think with the autonomy, the competence, the relatedness, I think by creating that space for the students to make them feel comfortable that they can come and they can say, hey, I want to create this. And it's like, yes, I support you. This is great. You're also creating empowerment. And that is not contained within a program. That's the stuff that is going to take them to places that they never dreamed of, or maybe they are dreaming of, I should say. But that's the stuff that it just, it starts to change how you approach life, right? And I feel like in some ways education has become a deficit. These are all the things you can't do. And I would love for it to switch to, these are all the things that you can do, and we're going to support you, and we're going to give you chances to explore things. And I really want to know how we can get this in every state. So how can I'm determined, because Virginia, you're doing a great job. I love you. Virginia's great. But like, I want this in Jersey. I know people in Connecticut who are saying absolutely, this is amazing. And now, because everything's remote, what does that look like? Like, is I'm Determined going to stay in its little Virginia with the district or with the department? Is it looking to scatter itself? Thoughts?
I think it was scattered.
I see all the youth leaders. Go ahead, Maddie.
I think it was scattered. Like, I think he'll like go to like different like states. Like, I'm hoping like Pennsylvania, I'm hoping they'll join in. I'm hoping California will join in, because I have a lot of people that I know in California. I mean, not a lot of people, but like I know my aunts and uncles and stuff like that that are from California.
Right, so I'm trying to spotlight all of the youth leaders. Did I miss anybody? So everybody can see, because we have a wonderful room here tonight.
You get Ankita, Phoebe, and then we have
Reeve is on as well.
Oh, Reeve is on too.
This is awesome, you guys. And I can
they showed up.
And Annie is a retired
youth leader.
I ran out of spaces, you guys. I don't have enough spaces. This is awesome.
So one thing I will say, and this is as a result of putting some of these decisions in our youth's hands and not holding them all for ourselves. So this past year, this past summer, we had our first virtual youth summit, right? And we were trying to figure out how to do all that, and we were planning these sessions that we normally do face-to-face, but we knew we were going to have them online. And at some point, the conversation was like, well, why are we just letting this just be Virginia people? Like, it's all online. It doesn't really matter. So we just said, okay, let's open it up and see what happens. And during the week of the summit, one of the favorite activities, because we would get together every night and just kind of check in with the youth and see, were there anything that was said that was really cool that we should spotlight or anything like that. And one of the favorite things to do was we ran this event through Google Sites, which gives us some analytics and allowed us to look at a map of the US and the world and to see where people were coming from. And we started noticing more and more people from all these other states, and the state would turn blue if someone from that state had showed up. So we were like, I think eight states away from turning the whole US blue. So it was just a matter of, let's just open it up and see what happens. And that's what happened. and so it was just a learning experience for me, because I know that if we would have had the adults stay in charge, that probably wouldn't have happened. And they connected with people. Go ahead, Chloe.
And wait, what? throughout the world.
Around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a few other
Yeah,
countries showing up
like-
too.
Well, I know for you, Chloe, I see here that you want to be a journalist and you want to travel the world. So I could see you one day running your own I'm Determined in another country. You never know, right? That's amazing.
Way back when I was in high school, I was talking, I think it was with Kendall about going to Europe, because I was going to Europe in a couple years. And I thought about taking a determined to Europe with me, but that didn't happen. So, but what did happen was during this summer, this past year, I have a friend Australia. Check out the virtual summer. And that was all I needed.
Yeah. That's awesome. I see, so now I should have all of the youth leaders up. Chat, we haven't heard from you yet. I see that you're a sophomore at James Madison University, and he's coming to us from his dorm. We'll have to talk about the whole Dallas thing, but that's fine. That's fine.
It's not changing.
So you want to work for a professional sports team.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and maybe how your ideas have changed or adapted from being in the program.
So I originally, this is actually kind of new. I originally wanted to go into prosthetics and orthotics. Being around it for so long with mild CP, I have orthotics in my shoes. So it kind of relates. We were talking about this in our event yesterday about how autonomy leads to choices. And my senior year in high school, I got to do an internship with our local prosthetics company. And I soon realized that I really didn't want to do that just because of the school and how it didn't fit like I thought it would. And so just autonomy was able to like give me that choice of, okay, I did it and it didn't work, but it gave me a choice to realizing that I actually wanted to do sports. And so it's been a big challenge. I'm hoping that a big success, just learning how more about autonomy and self-determination. And that's really been a big help for my career or where I wanted to go.
Well, I wish you best of luck. That sounds amazing. And I can imagine, though, that you might be able to bridge those two worlds together.
We'll see.
You know?
We'll see.
Yeah, interesting. The next person, I know, Jonathan, you talked a little bit. So you're a sophomore at Longwood University. And can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I am a sophomore, as you just said, here at Longwood University, and I'm majoring in elementary education with a concentration in pre-K through sixth grade licensure to be a teacher, hopefully. I'm the proud president of the Call Me Mr Cohort here at Longwood University, and I'm also a lead second grade teacher back home at my daycare at Kitty's Kids in Hanover County.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what Call Me Mr Cohort? I want to know more about that. Do I have to call you Mr.
Yes.
President? Mr. President?
Jonathan is fine. So the Call Me Mr. program is a program for students of color who want to go into teaching, specifically elementary ed, because there is a national shortage right now.
Yes.
And so this program gives us federal funds to come to school basically for free, as long as we come out with GPA and go into teaching for at least 2 years in the state. And we are based out of Clemson University in South Carolina.
That is awesome. And yes, we need more teachers, and I am afraid that we're going to need them more than ever after this next year. So I wish you all the best. That's going to be amazing. And these experiences and that you can bring into your classroom, you're going to be incredible. That's awesome.
I was going to say a quick answer to your question is, how do we get this in every state?
Yeah.
My quick answer to that is to hire all our youth leaders.
Yes. There it is.
That's what we need, right? Is like, I think that's, I think if you look at the initial kind of motivation behind Undetermined and its inception, it was really, really concerned about employing and having representation of individuals with disabilities in the workplace. And so if we want to have a more self-determined world, then we need to have them in our workplaces and in our organizations. So hire them. That's like the simple answer.
15 years, about how many students have come through the program?
So there's a couple of layers of participation. So the youth leaders that you're seeing here, these are our state youth leaders. And so on a given year, we have about 30 state youth leaders that work with us. And they stay with us between the ages of 13 and 21. There's also, and that's just a part of it. And we're talking about the summit a lot, but that's just a little piece of what we do. All throughout the year, we have other coordinators in kind of similar situations as Kendall and I that do a lot of professional development in schools, putting on conferences, working with teachers to help them learn these skills and help them learn how to provide these opportunities for their students too. And just like you saw Annie in the chat, she just said, like, she came through all this and now she's teaching, and she just used our virtual summit to kind of do some activities with her students. So the familiarity there is beautiful, and she's like the perfect person to be walking her students through this better than, when Kendall and I were teaching, we didn't have that experience of coming through special education. So a lot of these students that you're seeing now are going to be in positions and looking for jobs and things like that. They're the perfect ones to be speaking this. And I think if it were up to Kendall and I, that's where this program is going, is to have students like this come through and shove us out at some point.
Absolutely. Phoebe, I would love to hear about how it changed your life, so feel free to step up.
My life because I learned how to advocate for myself and more outgoing, because some kids with disabilities don't have a voice. And as a youth leader, I want to be a positive role model. And
so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, and go ahead.
It's okay, you're fine. Because some kids don't have a voice, and I just want to be a positive role model, so that way other kids can follow their dreams and reach their goals.
That's beautiful. I guess my question is, when you say having a voice, right? What were some things that you learned that helped you to speak up? Like, were there certain classes? Was it just being around others? Like, what was the thing that helped you to find your voice?
What helped me find my voice is being around people. Using the undetermined elements, the goal plan in the one pager.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can we talk about the one pager? Because I was just checking that out the other day. It's awesome.
Who wants to give it a go?
So
We haven't heard, or Phoebe, do you want to keep in going? And then I think Reed,
the
you are
one
itching
pager,
to go.
the one pager, you just write your name, and then you write down what happens on a good day, and then you write down what's happening now or what needs to happen.
So it allows you to kind of give background of who you are, what it looks like, so that people can, raise you up and
Yes.
be able to know that, you're not doing the lesson. It's not because you don't want to. Maybe today you don't feel well, and that's such an important thing. And I think with all the buzz with SEL, and I really hope we start thinking about these things for all kids, that we need to pay attention to how we feel and what is going on, so we can be the best version of ourselves at all times. And wouldn't that be an amazing world if we all had a little bit of that, and to have that support? The other thing I'm hearing you say is just being around like-minded people, and people who have appreciation for your experiences. And I think because Zoom is now how we do things, there's such a great chance for people from around the world to really connect and to not feel alone. Because I think that's what it takes. It's when we feel empowered that people understand us, we're able to be our truest selves. And the fact that you all have one another is amazing. And I really do. I'm like, how can we have every kid feel what you feel? And this is amazing, and I want more of it. So Reeve, tell us about your experiences. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, first thing, I was just thinking, just singing this song. We're all in this together.
Wait,
I don't know.
I know the dance. I know the dance. I gotta.
Yeah. But anyway, I was actually, first off, I did not notice until when other colleagues of youth leaders told me about this. So I was thinking, yes, so what was your, repeat the question? Can you repeat the question if you said something?
Oh, I just what was your experience like?
Oh, from my experience, so I am a person that is really gritty and with my goal plan, because sometimes I confuse myself, think it's a thing you say. So I'm actually a musician. I'm a bass trombone and euphonium player. Right now, I've been doing a lot of goals. Right now, I'm working for my all-state auditions, which are in 3 weeks to prepare.
Or no, break a leg, right? You don't.
Yeah, break a leg.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And one experience I used was I actually made all-state jazz one year, last year. And there's one theorem I really want. It says, I think, so the main person, one of the high band directors said, he's like, you can't say you can't, because you say that, you're actually going to go on a negative path. If you say you can, even if you have the dark times, you can bring out, when I said it's like full of rainbows, you can think, feel in the moment. And one of the first things that were just that I started, because I never knew I'm turned until like high school. I never knew this, but I used the goal plan because I like setting goals a lot. And sometimes if there was one goal did not achieve that one year, always takes me, I said the gritty, I said earlier, I'm just a person, just to be determined. And that's why I'm as a youth leader.
That's wonderful.
I gotta brag on Reed a little bit, because he doesn't do himself justice. So the thing I like about the way that Reeves sets goals is that he's super focused. So he knows where he wants to go, and he understands what things could act as distractions to him reaching that goal. And he knows then how to, like, he's actually very good at this. And I don't even know that he knows that he's good at this, but he's good at saying, I need to wait to do that because I got to get this done first. And I think
Can you
that just
teach me
that,
how to do that?
yeah, no, I'm like super jealous that he's able to do that. And I think that it's just like such a good skill to like be able to like focus on your goals and know that goals come with not just that goals come with some level of sacrifice, right? That you don't get to do all the fun stuff. Sometimes you have to give up the things that are fun in order to reach that goal. And I want to just, Reeve does that well. So
Yeah,
kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to link the idea of goal, right? We hear goals all the time in a very clinical approach in special ed. If you have an IEP, you have a goal. Sometimes you're not even sure what that goal is. And I think that's something alone that we have to change as professionals. Kids need to be a part of that process to make the goals, to know what their goals are, so that it's not just a performative piece of paper and a document, but a living, breathing thing that is about the child. I can't say that strongly enough. And I don't think it happens all the time. And I think that it takes a village. It takes the support of like-minded professionals to make sure that that happens, because it's a little bit more work, but it is work well worth the time. So we do have another youth leader that we haven't heard from yet. And then I would love for others to kind of chime in and to make sure that we have time to answer your questions. So is it Ankita? Is that how did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Awesome. What a great name. So tell me a little bit about your experiences and what you've learned through I'm Determined.
Well, my experience was great. I learned a lot of how to be self-advocacy and be determined for myself, because mostly in college, you have to learn to be advocate for yourself. So it taught me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in college, there's nobody chasing you around. And we talked about that last week, about how like the college doesn't even have to tell your parents what you're doing. It's about you. So yeah, that's wonderful that you've had that experience and that experience. All right, Maddie, go ahead, sweetie.
So my experience was pretty cool, because I get to like learn about other people's goals and let other people learn about my goals. Like my goal is like to go to college, because I'm taking a gap year because of COVID right now. But I'm gonna be going into college sometime, and my goal is to go to college and be a chef.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna try to be a chef and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So I do want to share the website because it is a treasure trove. So if you want to talk me through, because there are resources for educators, and teachers, the parents, the youth. There's information about the summit. So where should somebody start on this page?
Yeah, so just a heads up, this is all about to change in about a month or two. We're in the process of redesigning everything. I see you, Annie. You're like, I just know where everything is now. But if you do want to look at it before then, I would say you go to the quick links. If you just put and then those are our main things. So these are like kind of the where to get started. The one pager, good day plan, and goal plan are great places to start. The other big piece, if you go into any one of those three, they're gonna follow a similar kind of format, and you'll get the tool, You'll get some videos of people using it in elementary, middle, and high school level. You'll get different supporting documents. There's like an implementation guide for each one that gives you just some questions that go along with it. But really, it's about, you know, teaching the little pieces of these skills. So like the one pager looks at SPIN. You got your strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. And so we often have a lot of conversations just around like, what are my strengths? I bet you, Rebecca, you mentioned it earlier. A lot of times the IEP and just SPED in general can be pretty negative. So we meet a lot of students that who struggle to put down one strength. And so we do a lot of work around, okay, what are these strengths? And that means talking to parents, talking to their friends, talking to, of course, to the youth themselves. But sometimes it's helping them identify those things and getting them used to the language. A lot of our elementary work is really built around getting kids used to using the language of strengths. So when you say things that you like doing and that you're good at, that's a strength. So start to use that word, and then, you know, later on in life, you might need to put something like that down on a job interview, or if you're talking to someone like that. The other big piece, or the other like kind of setup opportunity for all SPED teachers, is the IEP. I mean, you got to do it every year, right? And so why not allow your students to be a part of that, to start making their own goals, start telling you what they need as far as accommodations. That was my entry point into all this self-determination stuff. It changed how I taught. It changed how I did IEP meetings for the better. And so I think that's also a really, just an opportune place to start if you're looking for a place to start.
Yeah, and
we have lots of resources on that too.
I'm putting the link in the chat if you haven't gotten a chance to view that yet. But tell us too. So you have the virtual summit for the kids, but right now you're putting on an educator symposium that started today. Right.
Yeah. So we're maxed out, but we have about 450 Virginia educators that signed up to attend, and so they're going to be going through 3 weeks of modules, and so we have one module that's focused on getting students involved in their IEP, like we just talked about. The second week is about I'm determined in the classroom. So how does this look in everyday life in the classroom? What are some things that you can do as bell ringers? What are things that you can do just day to day? And then the last one is looking at the post-secondary transition elements. So there's a lot, you know, when you get to that point, there's things change and you start thinking about employment and all that post-secondary stuff. So we wanted to give some time to focus in on that. And so a lot of these youth leaders that you see today are going to be featured in these modules. We do a lot of video recording. That's another thing that's really heavy on our site, is recorded video of youth, because if we can't have the youth there speaking to you in person, then we'd rather send a video of them than us say it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful when it comes from the people that it affects, and how much of education is created and delivered by people that may not even have an education background. That's for another topic for another day. But there is a parent's side as well, which also has, because one of the things that I loved, you know, the kids go to the summit in non-COVID times, but the parents come too, like Maddie mentioned. And so, but it's not like they're with the kids, right? The parents actually get to have their own community. And I remember you mentioning that, and I just feel like sometimes our parents are so disconnected from one another. And we really do have the ability with all these online spaces. I don't know if anybody here is on Clubhouse yet. I just joined Clubhouse last week, and there's a lot of like things for entrepreneurs and things like that. But it is such an amazing space for people from around the world with disabilities to be able to speak to one another, to be able to share the things that you've gone through, and to have that positive affirmation that you're not alone. And so I'm curious to see, it's in the the beta stage, and I'm curious to see what is going to come of it. But my point is, the technology we have can be used for such good. And I really hope that it continues to bring people who are changing the world together, because all of you here on this stage today, you are helping to make this world brighter and better with your own determination and just your commitment to be here on a Wednesday night and to share. I really am inspired by each of you. And I loved that I got to hear you get so excited when you all entered the room and saw one another. This is a truly authentic space. And I just thank you for being here. We're going to wrap up. So if anybody has any last thoughts, we will stay on a little bit, just if there's some one-on-ones or things that, and people want to connect, because we're all about connecting. But I guess if you could, we're just going to go around the room. If you could sum up a word that you have for the future. I just want one word that you have for your future, the future. I want one word. I'm going to start with Jesse.
Youth.
And then you pop it off to someone else.
Let's go with chat.
Sports. And then I'll say Jonathan.
Optimism. And I'll say Phoebe.
Determination.
Yes. And who do you choose?
Confidence.
All right.
Connections.
Yes. Love it. Anybody in? Go ahead, Chloe.
Amazing.
Amazing. I love it. Anybody from the audience? Maddie, go.
Determination.
Successful.
Yes. Anybody else feel inspired? Resilience, determined. I see some things in the chat. I just have so much hope, and just bringing you all together. I hope that we can continue to connect, and that we do see I'm Determined as a global program. And I can say, I knew you all when, right? So I'm just so excited for your futures. I cannot wait to hear more. Thank you for putting this together, to Jesse, to Kendall, and for all of you here in the audience. I wish we could talk to everybody at the same time, but keep on coming. We are here on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. The topic is always different, but the idea and the reason is the students. So I applaud you all. Thank you so much.